Once again, Fujimoto has done it. He has proven us all wrong in the best way possible, while also not giving us all of the answers that we were looking for. But also, just to top it off, he gave us a new line of questioning, a new direction for this story, and a future that is looking brighter than ever, with a lot more mystery surrounding it. As usual, I will save the theory crafting towards the end of the video, just so we don't get a little bit caught up and confused. We start off with a question, specifically Asa asking Yoru if she knew of this said person. This person would be the quote-unquote horseman that we believe to be either famine or death, considering the eyes between all horsemen are identical so far. Yoru plays coy to this. Seems like she doesn't have a clue whatsoever. And I was kind of curious, because realistically Yoru should know, but at the same time, why would Yoru want to remember? Especially if there's been a length of time, or if there's been a reset, or if things have been erased, etc. There's a chance that Yoru just genuinely does not remember who this individual is. A way that we can kind of loosely clarify it, at least for now, the amount of differing names, bodies, and just individuals in general that these horsemen would be associated with is probably endless. I think the only way that Yoru would know that this person is any sort of relative or sibling to the horsemen in general is if they were to actually transform, or if they find out their ability. The problem, however, with this, and Yoru's kind of straight denial of this answer, you would think the one thing being an indicator being called little sister would allow Yoru to believe that this would be a fellow horseman. For some reason, that doesn't click. Maybe Yoru doesn't know, maybe Yoru doesn't see themselves a part of the horsemen like a family. Instead, they kind of just coexist, and others may feel more inclined to be a family rather than others. And I think this might turn around to be a pretty interesting thing for Makima in general, the control devil, because one thing that they wanted was something genuine as a family, something real, tangible, something that wasn't conflicted or contorted by abilities or nonsense. Maybe Makima couldn't find that with the horsemen. Maybe they don't see each other like that. Maybe it's just this one person that logically should be a horseman because they share the same symbolic eyes, but the reasoning behind it, who knows? Maybe Yoru just forgot. This is very quickly interrupted by a thought process that Asa has regarding this mysterious woman, saying that she brought Yuko back to life, turned her into a giant. Maybe she is the new Justice Devil. Before we can even linger on that idea, we see her. She is with the student council, which is also a devil club group, and they seem ready to recruit Asa to their team. I love this build up towards it. Even though it's very simple and straight to the point, it allows you just for a fraction to think about the bigger picture for this mysterious woman. It's only 2 pages, then she appears on the 3rd, but for me it provides enough time to make it feel uncomfortable. That obviously she has a power that we don't know about, and if she is one of the horsemen that we think she is, she's gonna be a problem. This is where we get introduced to the student council president, club president, whatever you want to call him, known as Haruka. Now Haru seems like a pretty intelligent individual, but he's going to become a very massive player within this story, and I'll tell you why within a moment. Before we even get to the reveal of who Haruka is and why this mysterious horseman is with him, we find out that out of the 3 students that rocked up to fight Yuko, one of them was killed, the other guy is behind Haruka who has an injured eye, and the swordswoman quit the devil hunting club. When it comes to the intention or the purpose of these individuals, I think we were all pretty spot on with this. We knew that this swordswoman, who was shrouded in mystery, never seen her face, and had a pretty interesting go at Yuko, very clearly wasn't killed by her, is going to play a much bigger role within the future. And I think at this point for me, may most likely cross paths or befriend Asa as well, which I think would be nice, and a good way to balance out Haruka's little team with one of the injured individuals as well as the swordswoman on Asa's side. Very quickly, all of this information is pulled back to Yoru as she takes control to ask about Chainsaw Man's identity. Turns out that Haruka is pretending to be Chainsaw Man, but he has the ripcord to prove it. It's dangling out of his chest, identical to Denji, and this aggravates Yoru. She doesn't try anything, she doesn't want to do anything, but now she knows where quote-unquote fake Chainsaw Man actually is. You're probably really confused about this. How does this person have Denji's ripcord? How is he the fake Chainsaw Man? What is the possibilities of this? Don't worry, we'll get to that towards the end. Have somewhat of a loose theory rotating around this individual, especially the horseman. The next section we get is a beautiful conversation between Asa and Yoru that really dives into the psyche of both characters. Firstly, I love the flippant nature of Yoru. At some point she's very aggressive and on the nose, and then others she's kind of coy and shy and bratty and childish and all of these mixed personalities. So I'm very curious on the history of this individual, the stuff that they've gone through, the stuff that they've seen. Obviously they have the personality to back it, so I wonder how much more is actually there. I I think this conversation really solidifies the relationship between these two and how overly warped, probably not the best word, but basically how they weave in and out between each other. See, Asa is driven emotionally and she has a hard time building this conviction to do what has to be done, which is completely understandable because she was just a regular human that had quite a tragic and rough upbringing and that has constantly been bullied. Now she's thrown into a world with one of the strongest horsemen to exist, a very toxic individual that is trying to convince her to do all of these things to create a weapon. Asa's strong in her front, saying that she's not going to do this, but obviously at this point she's worried. She's shaken up by the whole Yuko situation, that she's lost a friend, and she doesn't want to drag anyone else into this, so much so that she identifies that she's perfectly okay with being with Yoru if it would only affect her. Even though she recognizes that it's miserable, even though she wants to get rid of Yoru because it's miserable, the key attribute of that is the other people being involved, and Yuko was quite literally collateral. Even though you can't really blame Asa for this situation, even though you can't really blame Yoru for this situation, maybe slightly if you wanted to, a lot of Asa's emotional vulnerability has pulled through. This is a big problem. It's beautiful storytelling, it's beautiful character development and growth, but it allows Yoru the opportunity to weave her way in, which is exactly what she does. Because Asa is so set on not wanting to drag other people into this situation, into Yoru's cat and mouse game with chainsawman, she claims she'll do anything to stop it, and this is where you get the playful grin of Yoru just smiling at the situation and ready to pile on every sort of tactic to convince Asa to turn someone into a weapon. This is where we get a big monologue of figuring out who Asa should pick. So she offers to turn a criminal, which obviously that's no good. What's great about this moment is not only, I would say, sensitive it comes across, but conflicting. Obviously Asa doesn't want to kill this cat and doesn't want to kill a regular normal human being. She would rather do it to a criminal, but we get the extra information on top of this, knowing that creating a powerful weapon requires powerful guilt. So we need someone that meets in the middle, someone that she's going to feel guilty about, and I don't think she'll ever actually pull through with this. Maybe at some point, or maybe in a way that it can work, but not to the fullest extent that I think Yoru actually wants it. I love how this dialogue is paired with Asa. She definitely steals a lot of this chapter because it's very self-indulgent. She's trying her best to think about the situation, to get out of it, to fix it, to heal it, to do something, and she's giving all these other options of maybe if I do a criminal or this or that, but she needs someone that she's going to feel guilty about turning into a weapon. This is where Denji rocks up and allows this chapter to breathe pretty openly, and you start to see the direction for its future. That these two are currently entangled for very different reasons, and they're going to become a lot more intertwined with one another. What's both purposeful and really comedic about this moment with Denji is that it helps break up the, I would say, severity of Asa's thoughts and Yoru's conversation. So while it can be very heavy, you see Denji going through these pretty monotonous tasks. He's picking up cigarette butts. At the same time, Asa thinks, well, he's not a bad individual, he's just picking up trash and litter. But then you see Denji take the very skint remaining tobacco out of those cigarette butts, roll up a brand new cigarette, put it in a packet, and sell it to a homeless person, claiming it to be brand new. I love the simplicity of this. It's just action based. You just see it sequentially go through this moment, and Asa's just watching it unfold right in front of her. This is the decision-making process. She kind of makes up her mind at this point after she sees him sell it to the homeless person that he's trash, but he still doesn't deserve to die. I think the saddest thing about this, which I hope comes back around within the future, is that Denji can't work a full-time job. We find out it's because of the school rules, right? So he's doing everything he can to make money. So while from Asa's perspective, he may be trash, but he's not so bad that he deserves to die, I would like to believe that this money is specifically for Naoyuta, that he's doing everything within his favor to look after her. The reason I think like this is because Denji grew up in a place of having nothing. He got by very little means, and when he got introduced to Aki and Power and Makima, his life ultimately changed. And while he's used to these newer things now and is probably able to get them a little bit, I think he's putting all of his effort into providing a comfortable and stable environment for Naoyuta. Not only because he genuinely cares about her, but because the alternative mission is that if he doesn't provide that type of good environment for Naoyuta, she will turn into someone very toxic, and the control devil will thrive in a very bad direction. I hope this comes back in the future. It might even work in favor for Asa in turning him into a weapon when she finds out that what he was doing was actually for Naoyuta and someone that he's taking care of. To end off the chapter, you have a nice little conversation between Asa and Denji. I love these two. There's something about Asa's genuine personality being very confrontational towards Denji, and then his response in return is also confrontational. They butt heads a lot. They're very similar in that regard, and I kind of like it. Obviously, because of their previous altercation, Denji isn't that kind. He's just straight to the point. He's super busy, tells Asa to get lost, but then she switches gears. She wants to take Denji on a date. Completely catches him off guard. And obviously you can tell that Asa's putting it on. It's a very odd personality for her to have. And she makes this very uncomfortable, playful face asking if he would like to go on a date. Denji's response, being a simple yes, is the funniest thing to me, because 2 pages prior he was so aggressive and confrontational and butting heads with her, telling her to get lost, and just this simple question made him fold completely in an instant. He didn't even think about it. Yes, no hesitation within this man. I love it. I think it's brilliant. And obviously this isn't genuine, so it hurts even more that Denji can't get a legitimate date, but still I'm very much interested to see how this evolves their relationship further. Once Asa starts finding out more about Denji, more about potentially Naruto and what he has to go through on a day-to-day basis, it's going to build that guilt up, but also make her feel even worse for what she's trying to do. And I don't think at this point Asa has the conviction to pull the trigger on it, at least fully to the extent that Yoru wants. So that ends off the chapter. Let's go into the theory though. Who is the fake Chainsaw Man? That's kind of a prime name to call him at this point. Obviously he has a little starter ripcord out of his chest, very similar to Denji. How did he get it? How is this possible? We know that he can kind of transform, at least from what we think based on the previous chapter, into a Chainsaw Man variant. How is this possible? I think it is famine. I think it is this very specific, peculiar horseman that we've seen grow Yuko into something massive, that we've seen in this chapter confronting Asa, and she too has the exact same ripcords as her earrings, and then within the middle of her earrings she has this counterweight / balance, right? At this point in time I've lynched onto the idea that that counterweight balance is just a very simple symbolic gesture to that of famine, the balance of scales being a representation to that horseman. But I do think there's more to this. Similar to how Makima could create hybrids and control them in their entirety, what's not to say that the horseman can't do it either? And I've brought up this idea a couple of different times within videos, but it would seem to me that every horseman has their own tools, their own weaponry at their disposal, and I'm starting to believe that all of those weapons are all of the hybrids. This includes Denji, this includes all of the hybrids that we've seen, even the nuclear warhead for Yoru. I think their purpose as hybrids is to benefit the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. But that doesn't answer how Haru is able to be Chainsaw Man while Denji is also Chainsaw Man. There's technically 2 of them now. I think this may be a specific trait for famine, an ability, if you will, able to balance out individuals and to quite literally raise or destroy whatever she wants. Just maybe she has kept the remnants of the past encounters that they've had with Chainsaw Man, with Pochita specifically, and she has taken that and given it to this individual and used her power to turn him into a hybrid, specifically a fake Chainsaw Man. Now, does that mean that this person could turn into the Pochita full armor form? No, I don't think so. Does this mean that he can erase people from existence? No, I don't think so. I do think that this has a double meaning, that the horsemen use hybrids as tools or weaponry, and every horseman has a way relating to their power on how they can turn people into weaponry. Similar to how Yoru can turn people into weapons, maybe she can go an extra step and turn them into hybrids. If that devil or human, both, maybe neither, is contracted properly. To me, this would make the most sense that Famine, or this horseman, is currently in control of everything. Why they're trying to replicate Chainsaw Man, I'm not entirely sure. Maybe they're infatuated with Chainsaw Man, maybe they hate them, or maybe they're trying to spread the fear back to him again, to make him powerful, to make him strong, who knows. But we can kind of theorize that she wanted Yuko out of the picture and now she potentially has the Justice Devil. Maybe this horseman can keep the devils on ice and put them into other humans. Imagine the individuals behind her, each has a devil that she has given them specifically. I feel more comfortable saying Famine just with the idea of Yuko growing on its own. There'd be no reason for Yuko to grow as massive as she did. At this point, I don't think there'd be any reason for a horseman that is death to create a fake Chainsaw Man. Famine, on the other hand, could rebalance humans, could rebalance devils and hand them out like weaponry if they wanted to. It'd be funny if all 3 horsemen, Control, War, and Famine, needed weaponry to be really powerful, and it seems like that is the case for the most part. But then you have Death, who probably doesn't need any sort of weaponry, doesn't need hybrids because of what they embody and what they actually are. This is going to make for a very interesting situation. Obviously fake Chainsaw Man and Denji are going to confront each other at some point, and I think this horseman is betting on it and is waiting for the perfect time. Other than that, I've spent a lot of time here. I'm very excited for the future. This was a phenomenal chapter. There's no new one next week, so we got to wait 2 weeks once again, but that's okay. I'll make sure I have something for you all next week. But let me know all of your thoughts right now. Thank you.